What we're watching now in politics and in the country is the destruction of our psychological engine. The thing that we all agreed on, even if it was irrational, we agreed on it. We agreed we want to buy stuff for Christmas. It's irrational, mostly, but as long as we agree with it, it becomes a psychological structure. And that's sort of falling apart now. But will it be replaced with something worse? Or will it be replaced with something better? My guess is that because we have sufficient freedom and market competition and lots of brilliant people, that it's far more likely that whether you want to call it a great reset, I don't buy into that framing, but certainly there are going to be a lot of changes. We will be going through a period of phenomenal change. And I feel as though we're up to it. I feel like we're up to the challenge. Apple Computer has come out with a new product, over-the-ear AirPods, I guess I call them. So they're wireless over-the-ear headphones, just in time for Christmas. And what do you think they priced them at? How much would you pay for Apple over-the-ear headphones? How about $549 before tax? $549 before tax. And here's the reason I brought this up. I hate you, Apple Computer, in a good way. I'm kidding when I say this. I hate you. And here's why I hate you. I don't want this product, but you made me want it. Stop that. What kind of stupid magic is this? I don't need this. It's not a product I need. It's not one I want. I really love, the regular earbud things. I'm hooked on these. These are one of the best products ever made. I mean, these are seriously good American, product making right there. But I don't really need an over-the-ear kind, but they inspire it. Apple, in their marketing, they inspire an irrational product lust that you can just feel, right? You can just feel it. And I know I'm going to resist this product as long as possible, but damn it, I want one. I want it. I've never even seen them in person. I have no use for it. Seems way overpriced. But why did they make me want this thing? How did they do that? How do they make you want something you don't want? Here's a little thing which you might not know about. So those of you who waited, you get this little Easter egg here. Did you know that when Eisenhower was president, he quite wisely realized that the military protection of the country was very related to the economy. And in the 50s, people had learned to be not very consumerish. Some of them had gone through the Depression, they'd lived through a war with rationing, and it really wasn't a big deal to keep up with the neighbors and buy gadgets and products and stuff. And it was Eisenhower who said, we need to become a country that consumes a lot, because that will drive our economy. That'll make us a strong country and will make our defense better. So Eisenhower was a pretty smart dude, as it turns out, with whatever advisors. And he realized that he had to change the psychology of the country from, I don't need that. I already have an old one. Why would I need a new whatever if I have an old whatever and it's working just fine? If it ain't broken, don't replace it. And he changed that to a psychology of lust. Now, Eisenhower didn't do it himself. He hired experts in let's say, the advertising and persuasion field to make the citizens think they had to have this stuff. So this lust I was talking about for these Apple headphones is sort of the the historical, legacy of a country that's been programmed to want things it doesn't need. So our whole psychology has, Bernays, that's the name of Edward Bernays, if you're going to look it up. Bernays, Bernays, I think is the spelling. So look him up. So he was the guy who figured out how to manipulate humans, making commercials, make us want things, until we became a massive consumer country. And that worked. Totally worked. We became a consumer country. We became the strongest country in the world. And we were brainwashed into that. So watching that process, you realize that the psychology of the public is probably the most critical part of the engine. And he got the psychology right, and that lasted for a long time. What we're watching now in politics and in the country is the destruction of our psychological engine. The thing that we all agreed on, even if it was irrational, we agreed on it. We agreed we want to buy stuff for Christmas. It's irrational, mostly, but as long as we agree with it, it becomes a psychological structure. And that's sort of falling apart now. But will it be replaced with something worse? Or will it be replaced with something better? My guess is that because we have sufficient freedom and market competition and lots of brilliant people, that it's far more likely that whether you want to call it a great reset, I don't buy into that framing, but certainly there are going to be a lot of changes. We will be going through a period of phenomenal change. And I feel as though we're up to it. I feel like we're up to the challenge. I feel as if, like any good company, and if you're not familiar with business strategy, this isn't so obvious, but if you're a company that makes a product and it works really well, you still have to make a product that kills your old product because somebody else will. So you have to be constantly eating your own products and destroying yourself as the process of growth, right? You have to destroy to rebuild. And we're going to go through the most massive psychological destruction maybe in our history. So when Eisenhower built this thing, which is this consumer economy, it wasn't replacing much of anything. It was replacing people not caring. But now we've got a thing. Once it's created, now it exists. You have to destroy that thing to make space for whatever is the new thing. I believe that we are smart enough to do that well in a 1,000 different ways. Invention, A/B testing, rapid communication. I think we have all the tools and the skills and the ability that maybe it's time to just push the flush handle on the old way of thinking, on a lot of stuff, and just make a lot of our old assumptions go away, even basic stuff. I've said that the consumer impulse and the free market is unsustainable at this point. We need to have some kind of a separate life for people who just are not going to be on that train, who still need to buy food, still need to raise kids, still need to have a life. There needs to be something that isn't as expensive as the normal way we do it, maybe as an alternate thing, etc. So I would say the future probably is going to be a UBI. I think Yang was way ahead of the curve on that. I think there will be UBI. I don't know if there'll be restaurants in the future. Think about the fact that restaurants are such a big part of the experience of at least people who have a certain amount of income. And that restaurants closed and you didn't really die, right? It turns out that going to restaurants is this sort of weird artificial business that built up and became massive, but we didn't really need it. We liked it, didn't really need it. I would not be surprised if restaurants just go away. Now, one of the reasons I got out of the restaurant business, besides the fact that it wasn't making money, was that it didn't look like it ever could make money. The restaurant business, when I exited it, looked like a business that couldn't be a business in the future. There might be a few mega chains like, Cheesecake Factories or whatever, but it was obvious that the independent restaurant business didn't have any future. It couldn't possibly work. And I think there's a really big red pill out there that I didn't want to be the first one to tell you about, but I feel like it's about time. The restaurant business is not good for the economy. I don't think it's that good for the economy. Now, that's an exaggeration. So anything that creates economic activity is probably good. But restaurants tend to barely survive. It's just it's your low-income jobs, and they're barely making a profit. Most of them are cheating on their taxes. They're supported by some other entity. If you look in my town, the most successful restaurant, and probably one of the few that will survive this pandemic, it's only because he owns the real estate. So the guy who owns the restaurant is lucky enough to own the building it's in, so he doesn't have to pay rent to an evil landlord. He's owned it a long time. It's probably paid off. So the restaurants that can succeed in the future will be special cases, like that one, where he just happens to own the building, so his cost structure is different than everybody else's. But short of that, the days where you can be an independent operator, rent a space, don't own the building, put in your restaurant and make a lot of money, it just doesn't exist. And I would argue that the restaurant industry was going to be gone in maybe 10 to 20 years, and this accelerated it. This is something that Naval Ravikant said before I heard anybody else say it, that the pandemic would simply accelerate things that were going to happen anyway. So if you're looking at how can we rescue the restaurant business, having been in the business, I have the maximum empathy for everybody involved, especially the employees. But the truth is, I don't know that it can be rescued. The truth is, I think the future is no restaurants of the independent kind. I imagine the restaurant of the future that would work if it were independent would look like this. It would be living space above a workspace, so the restaurant owner could live upstairs with the family, and downstairs would be a robot, basically a robot restaurant. So robots can make soup and salads pretty easily because it's just, chopping and adding stuff. Pretty soon, robots will be able to make a sandwich. Some can already do that. Cook a steak, etc., better than a human. So I would imagine that there will be robot-serving restaurants, and it's just not a business that will ever look the same 10 years from now.